Over here from CrossFit South Bend. Today I am here with Jesus, who just finished 3 months of one-on-one nutrition coaching. So Jesus did an amazing job, incredible job. We're going to talk about his journey, but just to give you a sense up front, he lost 20 pounds, 3.5 inches off his waist, and then 2.5 inches off his hips, and just been doing a fantastic job. So Jesus, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Glad to do it.
So, Jesus, tell us a little bit about, normally actually I ask about what people thought about this way of eating, but we'll get to that in a second. Tell people about what you do for a living and kind of traveling and work and things like that first, I think.
Professionally, I've been a salesperson for 12 years. Then I ended up here in South Bend doing development, fundraising for Notre Dame. And as a result, it's still the same kind of lifestyle. I travel, I would say, on paper, you travel about 50% of the time, but I think at this point I'm at about the 60-70 mark. So on a monthly basis, I'm out of town 67% of the time.
Wow.
So I'm on a plane, hotels, live out of a small little briefcase, carry a whole bunch of stuff in there.
So, when you and I initially met and given this context of traveling all the time, what did you think about this way of eating initially?
I think I could do it. I thought it was extremely impossible for multiple reasons. I mean, the travel itself, airport food is not necessarily the friendliest food. At the same time, you've got, I have meetings with a lot of people and they like to eat and drink and have appetizers and everything else that probably comes super loaded with all the stuff that you're not supposed to be eating. So
right.
I was very, very uncertain about it.
So tell us about the journey. Tell us about like month 1 where you start transitioning, and then month 2, and then reintroducing stuff, and then I think there was an instance where you turned down some pretty expensive alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about your journey.
Oh God. So month 1 was the weaning stage, I guess. Would that be the right word?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we started, and if I recall correctly, the first thing we cut out was dairy, and then alcohol was the next one, and then the tortillas, which for anybody who's Mexican, that's just like telling somebody to stop breathing. But I mean, by the time I got to the last week, and I'd gone on a trip snowboarding, that was actually it was a vacation, so it was relaxed. I didn't have to worry about traveling and coordinating people. It gave me an opportunity to kind of mess with the with the way I would eat. And I saw that I could start doing things if I thought about it ahead of time. And I had good friends that were willing to tolerate my crazy searches before we went out to eat or whatever. So it actually was a good prep that final week before we jumped into the real Whole30 on the second week. So that was the first one.
Yeah. And then how about the Whole30? How'd that go?
Everybody can do anything for 30 days. I did it for 30 days. I collapsed on that second day the first time, and then it wasn't because of me. Somebody had ordered food ahead of time, and they had chicken fingers in front of me, and that's the only thing I could eat. And I hadn't had breakfast that day, which is we avoid not having breakfast, but it was a tough day. I had the chicken fingers, and we had to restart 2 days right into the Whole30, and we restarted, did the whole, and then at that point I was like, all right, I'm never doing this again, and it was go time. I mean, it was tough. That's when I said no to the Pappy. For anybody who likes bourbon, I'm a big bourbon guy. I have 6 bottles that I haven't touched for 90 days, and in counting. I still haven't had bourbon.
Wow.
Not that I don't miss it. I actually do enjoy bourbon. I'm happy with what's happening, so I'm not touching the bourbon. But I had an opportunity with somebody. They had Pappy 12 on the menu, and they were like, yeah, you want to get some we know you like bourbon. And I was like, and I think that pour was about $68 for 2 fingers of bourbon from Pappy, and I didn't touch it because of the Whole30. So no bourbon.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta commend you. I mean, your job basically requires that you're interacting with people and going out and socializing, drinking and food, and just your commitment to it, given all that you have thrown at you on a regular basis, which is way more than the standard person, is very impressive. Tell us about some of the non-scale victories. Like when you were mentioning the snowboarding trip, I think I was thinking back to some stuff you were saying about felt like you were recovering better, having a bit more energy. Tell us about things like
and
that.
that wasn't even the whole 30. That was just the first month.
Right.
So that was like the last week of the first month. So anybody who's snowboarded and gone to Colorado, you're 7,000 plus. I got all the way to 12,000 feet that trip. So oxygen is very limited. It's very low, and you usually get a headache for a couple days. I was there for 4. I only got the headache for a couple hours the first day, and then I don't know. I've never had that happen where I don't have a headache for a whole day. I did use Advil. Full disclosure. Yeah. But even then, Advil wouldn't necessarily help that in other situations. So, the oxygen adjustment happened faster. When I got up to the mountain, I was not as exhausted, but after snowboarding the first day for like 6 or 7 hours, the next day I was expecting to be extremely sore and very incapable of moving and forcing myself. And except for a few bruises, there was no lactic acid in my body. I went up for a second day. I did feel a little bit more sore the third day, but that was expected. The first day is supposed to be the most brutal one. It didn't happen. So for whatever that counts, that's never happened before. And I started snowboarding when I was 24, 26. Wow. So, and that happened back then. So I was much younger, much thinner. I don't know. I call that. The other thing was the skin. I had a lot of bumps on my triceps and on my biceps, and for whatever reason, in the last 90 days, they've just been going away. You can still see a little red, but it's not bumpy. And I haven't changed anything else that I use, showers, soaps, or anything. Yeah. So, I've heard a few people mention this in previous interviews, but yeah, going to the bathroom becomes much more regular. Not that I had an issue. That's not right. Something, but it is done.
Good to go.
It's solid to go. It was great. I've noticed all those things. So, and losing the weight, my ankles are bad from soccer, so that I've had less ankle issues. I'm springy. I'm good. I can run again. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Congratulations. So, last thing we like to typically ask people is, obviously, there's no such thing as convincing someone else to do something they don't want to do. But, say you ran into someone who, has a job like you have, who's traveling a lot and in these meetings and interacting with people. What would you say to someone who isn't sure themselves that they could do something like this now that you've completed things?
It's funny. I've had a few people stop me in the office. Actually, one today, and my pants are falling off. I have 38 inch waist pants that I have to loop all the way to the second to last hole on my belt to keep them up. And at some point I'm gonna buy new pants, but not right now. And they go like, you look thinner. Those clothes are real loose on you. What's going on? And I'm like, well, I'm doing something, and I don't try to push it on anybody.
Yeah, of course.
Don't want to sound like, like I'm a telemarketer or something.
Right.
But once they start pushing, I say, yeah, it's called the Whole 30, and they're like, well, do you have to get rid of bread and do you have to get rid of sugar? Yeah, you have to get rid of it. But quite frankly, I tell them I'm like, if you like meat, if you like vegetables, and you're really not losing anything bad. Any of the good stuff, the stuff that actually makes the meal. If I gave you bread every day, you probably wouldn't want to eat bread after the second day.
Right.
But with what you eat at the Whole 30, I got creative. I was making roasts. I was making stuff. I was searing stuff. I got a cast iron. What do you call it? Casserole, whatever. I've never had one.
Saute pan.
Yeah, I've never had one. Now I have one, and I love it because I could sear meat in there and then throw it in the oven to finish it off. I'm turning into an awesome cook. And it's the best food ever. It's just, you don't need bread to accompany that, or the sugar. So, once they go like, oh, so I'm like, yeah, So I would say, if anything, take it as an experiment, a social experiment with yourself, and figure out how your skills are going to go in terms of troubleshooting, because you're going to have to troubleshoot at some point, especially if you travel like me. Yelp becomes your best friend, so does Google. Looking for restaurants that provide healthy foods, pictures. As long as I get the 3 macros that I'm looking for, I'm going to that place. That's what I find, and I've been able to find it in New York City, which we've spoken about this. This is easy. It's child's play in New York City. You can find a place that fits Whole 30, at every other block. So you don't even have to worry about it. You don't have to think. And then I found places in Rochester, New York, which, if anybody's been to Rochester, New York, it's a lot smaller than South Bend and struggling. So finding stuff in Rochester was a challenge, but I still did it.
Yeah.
So it can be done. You get creative, you figure things out, so you develop as an individual. So just kind of a growth opportunity for 30 days. Why not? Go for it.
Yeah, at the very least, give it a try.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So Jesus, I think you did an awesome job.
Thank you.
Super proud of your progress, especially given all you had to deal with work-wise. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Appreciate it.
Totally glad. Hope everybody gets to enjoy it and laugh at a few things or something. I didn't say anything too funny this time, but yeah, we'll see you guys out in the gym.